Back in Los Angeles, I discontinued teaching my acting classes because Barry had asked me to go back to Connecticut to work with him on a new script. Before I got the call from him, though, I continued to spend several days a week volunteering with the children at Hollygrove, where I was involved with various creative projects. Then the director of Hollygrove's assistant, let's call her Karen, asked if I'd help her put the new media center together. She'd been responsible for designing it, but I'm definitely using that term loosely, design. And she decided that since a large screen had been installed for showing films, this big room would have bleacher-style seating, which is often used in sports stadiums. These were flat, hard surfaces, and not comfortable at all to sit on. Karen wanted me to organize the new library, and I asked a couple of the children to help me. Of course, I had to get permission. I particularly wanted one of the girls, Maria, who was 8, to help me. She had shown no interest in reading, and I realized it was because she'd been living with her grandfather, who only spoke Spanish, and she just didn't know how to read English. I asked her if she wanted to help me put the library together. She hesitated, but then agreed. I had an official badge with her name printed on it, with the words library assistant added, and I could see how thrilled she was and very proud to have the title. A few other children also came along from time to time, but I think they only wanted to get an official badge with their name on it, like Maria. They did help stack the books on the new shelves and label them into different categories, so they were a good help. I wanted to add funny stickers on the labels to make the books more appealing, and the kids were really into it too. But Karen said it would look messy. She wanted everything to be nice and clean and tidy. Good luck with that. While all the kids were a great help, it was really Maria who got involved the most, and I was amazed how quickly she showed interest in various stories. We'd stop and I'd read some of the books. One of them was called The Giving Tree, which she really liked. And when she asked if she could take it back to her cottage to read, I thought this was a good idea. Yes, a great idea. In fact, that was it. We'd have a lending library where the kids could take out 1 or 2 books a week. So with the help of a couple of other children, we designed a system in a 3-ring binder with the name of the child, the cottage they were in, the title of book, date borrowed, and due back. We were very excited about it. And although I knew it was risky and the library may never see the books again, I felt it was important to give the children not only a sense of a normal library, but responsibility for the books. I decided not to inform Karen of this somewhat bold move. Several famous people always donated gifts to Hollygrove, especially at Christmas. And Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, when they were a couple of course, sent over a huge teddy bear, as well as other really large stuffed toys. I thought these would be great for the kids to cuddle up to while they were reading on the bleacher seats. But Karen wanted the toys on a high shelf so that the children couldn't reach them and spoil them, she said. She thought the stuffed toys made the room look decorative. Since there were no cushions or other soft surfaces in the media centre, it just wasn't an inviting place for the children. I'd initiated a library session with the children on a Sunday morning from 11 a.m. to noon, which had been approved by the director of Hollygrove. This was going to be along the lines of the former book bugs, and I'd notified former volunteers who said they were interested in being part of it. The bleacher seating really wasn't conducive for reading to the kids, so most of the volunteers lay on the carpeted floor, which was far more comfortable. Then I made another bold move and took the large soft toys off the top shelf and gave them to the children to lie on while they were reading with the volunteers. Some kids just lay back on the stuffed toys and relaxed reading a book on their own. They were very happy. It was a lovely environment for everyone. Of course, as soon as the session was over, the stuffed toys were returned to the top shelf and didn't come out to play again until the following Sunday. It was our little secret. 6 computers had also been set up in the centre and were on full display, so naturally the children were drawn to them. Since they were only operative when the older children were having computer lessons, I'd suggested to Karen that they be cordoned off because they were too tempting for the kids at other times. She didn't think it was a good idea. Consequently, whenever I was teaching drama, creative writing or reading sessions, I'd spend half the time, along with the other volunteers, pulling the kids away from the computers, which they weren't able to use. It was very frustrating for all of us. I was invited to the official opening of the Media Centre, which was also attended by the director of Hollygrove, a couple of local dignitaries, as well as Hollygrove employees, children, volunteers, and Karen. A big yellow ribbon was stretched in front of the door to the centre, and a speech was made by the director, who thanked Karen for everything she'd done to make the Media Centre possible. She then handed her a large pair of scissors, and Karen cut the yellow ribbon to a tiny smattering of applause. To say I was disappointed that I hadn't at least been mentioned for my contribution would be an understatement, and I wasn't the only one to be shocked. Several of the social workers present and volunteers looked aghast, and even the children seemed surprised. Frankly, they didn't even know who Karen was, since she rarely showed her face outside of her office in the main building. You know, I'd been involved with Hollygrove for 10 years at this point, and as mentioned earlier, there'd been a lot of changes, some that were not always for the best in my opinion. However, I was simply a volunteer and didn't have to deal with these damaged and dysfunctional children on a day-to-day basis. It was about this time that Cody left Hollygrove to live with a family who'd previously fostered him when he was younger. I'd met them when they came to visit Cody, and I liked the mom and her elder daughter very much. More importantly, when I went to visit Cody in his new home, I could see that he was very happy with them. Then I got a call from Barry asking me to go to Connecticut to work with him on his new script, which would be called Man of the Year. This was a story about the host of a comedy political talk show to be played by Robin Williams, who decides to campaign for president. It's a bit of a joke to him until he wins the popular vote. Unfortunately, evil forces are at work, as sometimes happens in political circles, says she with tongue in cheek. And this comedian's attempt to claim the crown is thwarted by a flaw in the voting system. It's ironic that years later, a comedian, the wonderful and inspiring Volodymyr Zelensky, actually became the president of Ukraine. Next time, my move to Connecticut and roles in 2 TV series. Thanks again for listening.